Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast. It is episode 212 on March 5th, 2024. Welcome, Daniel.
Hello, Gavin.
Yep, nice to have you back on the show. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Great to have you guys joining us. So, another episode out. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Gavin Pickin. I'm a senior developer at Auto Solutions, and I'm joined by Daniel Garcia, who is another senior developer at Auto Solutions. So,
yeah. And if you don't know Gavin, you definitely don't know me. So.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about something you just did online a couple of days ago. So they might know you from that too.
Maybe.
But,
I think this is the first time this year, Gavin, we're co-hosting together. It's awesome.
Yep. We've been pretty busy. We've got some cool stuff coming up for Into the Box, so you guys will have to check that out. But before we get into all that stuff, let's talk about our sponsors. So thank you, Auto Solutions. Because those of you who don't know, they make ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, TestBox, and all your other favorite boxes out there, except for a couple that legally and name marks you can't use, which we won't go into. But anyway, we make a lot of cool box products for the CFML community. And a way you guys can say thanks to Auto Solutions is you can buy workshop tickets to our CF Summit East workshop that's coming up. Yep. Also, we have Into the Box in DC coming up as well, right, Daniel?
Yeah, in mid-May. That's going to be awesome. DC, it's a new location for us, and it's exciting.
And of course, you don't have to pay money to support us. You can like and subscribe to these videos on YouTube and get that little subscription and the bell, so that way you get notified when we go live for these podcasts.
Yeah, and you can help Ortis reach for the stars. You can star and fork our repos. Go out there and like our stuff, and you know what you can also do? You can contribute if you want. We're open source and we love contributors. You can subscribe to our podcast wherever fine podcasts are sold or available. You can sign up for a free or paid account on CFCasts, and I think we're releasing content pretty regularly. The Box Life store, you can buy cool swag. Are you wearing a Box Life shirt today, Gavin?
I'm not sure if that one's on there. It's a ColdBox shirt. Got Conventions. It's a new one that we had at CF Summit last year. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if that one's on the shop, but there are some on the shop that we don't actually give out at conferences, so you guys can get some stuff that only people from the store can get.
Yeah, my favorite one is the CommandBox server is up. It's got the stack of servers.
Yep, that's a pretty cool one. And then, of course, we have a few books. So we have the 102 ColdBox HMVC Quick Tips and Tricks on Gumroad, and it's also on Amazon now in a hardcover as well. So that's really cool. And if you guys have bought the book or got the book from the conferences, go leave a review on Amazon. It really helps, and we appreciate that. And we have the Learn Modern Cold Fusion CFML in 100 minutes, or 100 plus minutes now, because now we've added a lot more content to that. So there's an ebook you can buy, or a paper copy you can buy, or you can go view it free online at moderncfml.autisbooks.com.
Yep. So, I also heard a rumor that if you buy the book and bring it into the box, Luis will autograph it for you.
Ooh.
I say that because I'm the one that started that rumor, and hopefully Luis is a good sport about it. But
yeah, no, the hardcover ones are super cool.
You'll be a good sport about it.
Yeah, well, the hardcover one is really cool. We actually gave that out at the workshop at CF Summit, and everybody was really impressed with it. So it was super cool. I got my copy. I taught the workshop, so I guess I get one. But yep, so lots of cool ways you can say thanks back to Auto Solutions, and basically all of these things help make the community better, and that's what we try to do at Auto Solutions, is make our lives and the community's lives better by improving Cold Fusion through tools and just everything around it. But we couldn't do this without our support of our Patreon supporters as well, which we have 46 phenomenal patrons, and we got a few of them in the chat today. So I see David in there. I see Scott in there. If anybody else wants to say hi, jump in the chat and we'll say hi back. And then if you want to find out more about becoming a Patreon supporter, you can go to patreon.com/autosolutions. And you can also find out at the end of the show, we'll read out a few top Patreon names and give you a few other perks and reasons you should be a Patreon supporter too. So hopefully you guys stick around for that. But first up, let's get on with the news. So we got some news and announcements, and probably the biggest story is the one coming from the White House, right?
Oh yeah, I thought I saw this when it came out, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So basically, the White House mandate press release: future software should be memory safe. Basically saying if you're going to be coding in languages, make sure it's a memory safe language. Like is Cold Fusion a memory safe language, Gavin?
Well, it's built on top of Java, which is one of the ones listed as a memory safe language. So, uh, yeah, the big thing is that cybersecurity is a big issue these days, and if we can eliminate memory unsafe languages, which basically things that are using, like, I guess, the malloc part in like C and C++, where you get to control some of the memory stuff, basically it opens up a huge door of cyber attacks. And so if you can get rid of those memory buffer overruns and stuff, you dramatically reduce the possible attack vectors. And so that's a huge thing. And it's pretty funny, like most of the languages that they're talking about is like Swift, by Apple, and all these big languages backed by companies. And, like obviously Java's got Oracle and everything behind it now. But you've also got little old Python, which one dude made in his garage. But the other languages are supported by major companies, and they're memory safe and everything else. Like Rust and everything is a big thing there too. But yeah, we're built on top of Java, so that's a big thing. But one of these memory buffer overruns that people might have remembered was the SQL Server issue. So I don't know if you guys knew before, but basically SQL servers were getting infected by their overrunning the memory buffer overrun or whatever, and then from that taking over the machine and then infecting others. And that happened, I think, several years ago, but it was a pretty big attack, and that was one of the things. So I guess, under the covers, they took a hit, the attack took advantage of the memory issue, and that's how it spread so violently. So, but
Well,
yeah.
my takeaway from this whole thing, Gavin, is the White House says use Cold Fusion. That's the headline.
Yep. The funny
And
thing was, though, is like, I think they mentioned on the Working Code podcast too, was when they read this, if their thought was like, oh no, JavaScript's gone away, Adam Tuttle was so scared. But yeah, apparently that JavaScript's on the safe list somehow. I don't know. But yeah, we've got the link to the blog post about it, or the press release, and then the full report, and I'm sure there's a million takes online too. You can go check that out. But that did spark some conversation and some tweets on X recently. But there were also some recent Lucy vulnerabilities that got published, and it seemed like the publish came out a little fast too. So I guess the Project Discovery released some impressive security research on some multiple vulnerabilities in Lucy through Mira CMS, Master CMS. And so Brian O'Reilly, he speaks at a Cold Fusion CF Summit, and he's does quite a lot of security blogging around Cold Fusion. He has a blog post, which we'll link here. But basically, he's thinking defensively about these three recent vulnerabilities. So, one, go check out the vulnerabilities, make sure your Lucy's covered. And then two, check this out, because I think it's a good way to approaching these from a defensive mindset, like, how you should be locking on your server, how we should think about these vulnerabilities. So I think it's a really good read. Should definitely do that.
Yep. And be fair, when they find these things, they don't just announce them, right? They report them, and they have time to get them remedied and remediate.
That's the usual process. They usually give what they'll do is they'll notify the projects. They usually have like a 90-day window, basically, before they release the actual information to the public, because you don't want bad people to get the information before the good people can fix it. But I read someone, I'm not sure who it was, but somebody thought that the announcement was a little faster than it should have been. Like, they hadn't seen Lucy's response to these yet, so I don't know if it came out quicker than it should have, or maybe this was more complicated than we thought to get the fixes out, or whatnot. But someone said that it seemed like Lucy was, basically they hadn't released the stuff in time for the actual release of the article or something. So that's always a concern, because sometimes you can't help it, but if someone reports things through the right channels, there's a process, and so hopefully, but you get the chance to fix it before it's well known. I mean, because that's when all the script kiddies come out, and you really get in trouble, because the script kiddies look at all the published vulnerabilities, and that's how they build
Oh
up their
yeah.
attack vectors. Once they
Yep.
know something is vulnerable, then they'll write stuff to do it. And some of the stuff is pretty crazy how they come up with it, because it's not something you normally think about too. And when you read some of the ways that they've come up with, I don't know, just I'm not, I guess, not that good of a hacker, because I don't think of the crazy ways that they can get to some of these um, vulnerabilities. It's pretty nuts. So
Okay, so then we have another article from him. One reason why your Cold Fusion server may still be vulnerable, even with the latest security updates installed. He is talking about next Tuesday is Adobe Patch Tuesday. Are there going to be new updates? He doesn't know, but if there are no new patches, there's some things you can do to make sure you get everything you need and that you're not missing anything. So we'll go ahead and post that blog article as well.
yep, and I think the big thing with that is the connectors. And so even when you apply patches, a lot of the time you've got to reconnect. And if you don't automatically reconnect, sometimes it doesn't update. And obviously Charlie's really good about publishing those types of things. But yeah,
Yeah.
Brian's a big security guy, and um, I recommend everyone adding him to your list of reading, because I think it's really important to stay up on top of that. So
What's crazy, Gavin, is we're just talking about connectors. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't dealt with a connector in a while. That's using command box,
yeah, I
like
mean,
everything. But you're right. It's there's always that step that says update the connectors and make sure everything is reconfigured. And
yeah, that's one thing I like with like Nginx, just pointing to a port and you're done. You don't have to worry about the connectors every time. So
right,
I've
and
been
never spy.
spoiled. I do have a client that's using IIS right now, and I had to like go back to the old days. I'm like, uh-oh, what do you do with this? How does this work? Why is this not working? A
Mm-hmm.
little more painful, but the connectors are pretty good at what they do. You just got to make sure you use them properly.
Mm-hmm.
In case you
Okay.
missed it, CF Summit East was announced, so that's coming up here soon. We'll have more information in the workshop. Sorry, the conferences section of the podcast. But just a reminder, we did announce that. And then Into the Box 2024. So we had the third wave of sessions, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the conference section too. But we've posted the last few. So basically, the full agenda is out there. But I will caveat that just because we've announced the sessions doesn't mean the names of them are all there. Because there's a couple of secret sessions, right, Daniel?
Shh.
There's a couple of mystery speakers too. So we have
Mystery.
announced that there's going to be an announcement, basically. So
Exciting.
I'm not sure when we're going to announce the mystery stuff. I mean, I'm not even sure who some of them are, to
Well,
be honest.
worst case, it'll be right when the session starts.
Yeah. So Into
I
the
think we're trying to do
Box.
some more fun things. We're in a new location. We're really excited. Not that Houston wasn't great, but we go someplace new environment. DC's an amazing city. There's just a little more excitement this year than years prior, I think. And was this our 11th one, right?
11th. Yep.
Yeah. So you thought 10 was exciting. We're our 10th anniversary. I think this one's going to be probably even more exciting.
Yep. It's kind of crazy. So very, very cool. Okay. Well, let's get on to some new releases and updates. So,
Yes, a big one. Command Box 6 is released.
woohoo.
We released 6.0. It's a major release of our CLI, REPL, Package Manager, and CFML server. Comes with lots of major new features to play with. It's supposed to be 99% backwards compatible with 5.9, so please update and test. If you find something that is not compatible, let Brad know, and he will make it compatible. In fact, I saw a couple things somebody found very isolated use cases that Brad's like, oh, somebody's using it that way. Okay, let me write a test for it and fix it. And but yeah, it's great.
Yep, there's some pretty cool things in here. So let me just try and share my screen locally, and we'll give you guys a quick run of the updates, because there was a lot in this one, really. I mean, there was some pretty cool stuff in
Looks like David Bellinger is loving it. I assume he's talking about Cold Box 6 and not something else. I'm sorry, Command Box 6 and not something else.
there. Yeah. So what's new? Multi-site server. So that's been a big one that everyone's been wanting for a long time. So it's huge hallmark feature of Command Box 6. So you can basically run as many websites with different routes in a single Command Box server. So now this gives you basically the same ability to use Adobe Cold Fusion and IIS, Lucy Tomcat type stuff with mod CFML. So you can run more than one server when you start up a command box server. So it does have some configuration things, obviously, to get it working right. But it allows you to do rewrites and web aliases and security profiles and HTTP, SSL, and AGP bindings, welcome files, etc. And so you can see here that you've got your web set up for the multi-site, and then you've got each site separately, so you can choose a different site, a different host alias, etc. So you can configure things. It's pretty dang cool.
It is. There are some caveats to it in that if you're going to do that, all the sites are going to share the same memory space, which is great, but you're only going to have one service entry in the Windows service if you're using the command box service manager.
Yep.
So if you only need to restart site 3 and you've got 4 sites on there, you're going to restart them all. It is what it is. But that's really no different than when you had ACF with the different instances, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
basically that's the sort of the thing. It's like when you used to install one server, you had one instance running and everything was on that box. And so with this, it allows you to do that. But you can have one with just one site, and then maybe another command box with 3 smaller sites, so you don't have to restart the big site every time the little one needs to be restarted. So you can, mix and match as needed. But yeah, you're right though.
Out to David in the chat, and we'll come back to it. What's your favorite feature of it so far, David? And we'll come back and see what you say.
Yep. So enhanced server bindings is cool too. You can actually have multiple host names now. You can listen on different ports, etc. Of course, we got the SSL SNI support. Rewrite maps are pretty cool.
Oh, he says server rules on a single site. Nice.
Yep, it's very cool. And then publish commands directly uploads to S3 now, so it saves you some time there. You can add proxy server rule aliases. Oh, that's nice.
Yep. Okay.
And then specifying package and server scripts as an array. Ah, interesting.
That's funny, David. I spent some time talking to Brad about it too yesterday through some things, and he cleared up some things, and so I am actually very excited about working with it. In fact, if you come to the end of the box, I'm doing a session on how to do web hosting with command box.
Ooh.
So tease that out there, and I will fully know how to use it by that point.
Cool.
Especially it's multi-site. That's the part that I gotta play with.
Very cool. So this Command Pro auto settings. Very cool. Yep. So yeah, lots of cool stuff there. And again, big release. I know Brad's been working for a long time to get all the versions underneath updated and set up and everything. So he finally released it, and he was trying to release it earlier, trust me, but there was a couple of versions underneath that he just needed to get updated, and just had to get the right versions of everything to work together. So but it's pretty cool. We also had a Otis Redis extension, so version 3.3.0 was released. So if you guys are using Redis elsewhere, the Redis Lucy extension is really cool. Really ties in and gives you a lot better control of your concurrent modifications, and it's really a nice way to tap into something like Redis. So if you guys are using clusters, you can use it for session management, etc. Very cool. So you can check that out in the blog post here.
Very plug and play too once you get it set up. So
yep, for sure. And then of course, in case you missed it, we had a couple of releases that we mentioned in the last episode. So Adobe's got the ColdFusion Builder extension for VS Code. They released that update. And also Hyper version 7.3 was released as well. And so we got some information on that as well. So just wanted to give you those little reminders in case you missed it. Okay. Well, next, let's talk about CFCast. So, as we mentioned before, CFCast is our online video tutorial content. So, cfcast.com. And we have great content we're releasing as often as we can. So, we've had a few releases lately. So, Grant's been doing a great work on the CB Wire series. He had a bit of a break, and he's back with more videos. So, he's got one on data binding. So you guys can check that one out. And then we have our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, and the ForgeBox module of the week. When we release the podcast, we take snippets of those videos and put them up there. So if you want to go listen to all our podcasts, you can just go watch all the VS Code hint, tip, and tricks of the week series, and there's a ton of stuff in there. So a lot of great content. So we try and keep those updated and updated on a regular basis. And I know we're working hard to get more content scheduled and ready for you guys. So they're working on getting that. So some more series should be coming out your way shortly too. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, we've also got some exciting new idea that might be coming soon. The CF
Mm,
Cast, another, well, I would say mini series. I don't want to give too much away because we
yeah.
gotta make the content.
Yep, for sure. So we'll
Just some fun stuff
hopefully,
we're trying to do.
yep, exactly. Trying to reuse some content and give you guys more cool stuff. Inside material, even.
Hmm.
Next up, we've got our conferences and trainings. So, as we mentioned, online. Oh, actually, we didn't mention this, but Adobe Online Cold Fusion CF Summit 2024 is happening right now. And so we've been having the series of videos, which the majority of them are sessions from CF Summit last year that were able to be recorded. And so they've been releasing this. So Daniel's sharing the link to go register for that. But we've got some pretty cool sessions coming up. It's been going on between February 15th and March 15th. So there's a lot of sessions. But we got the next few here listed for you. So we got Rochelle Hanna exploring cloud services with Cold Fusion tomorrow, March 5th. And then March 6th,
Today
we have
is,
two, right? We have Mega. With that.
yeah, not to confuse anybody, but today is March 5th.
Oh, sorry. I thought I grabbed the other day's worth. What? My bad.
No,
But
Hannah's or Rochelle's on March 5th.
yeah.
Correct.
And so, yeah. So Mega's talking about single sign-on and SAML with LDAP integration, the Cold Fusion administrator. And Nolan Urk is talking about web components in your CFML application on the 6th as well. And then the 7th, we have Matyam Mistra from development to production, PMT's full support to CF. So those are just the next couple of days worth. There's plenty. I don't want to fill up the whole session. But we also had some recent sessions, and one of them was you.
It was. I did a session transitioning from WordPress to Content Box, a powerful Cold Fusion alternative.
Yep.
It's the same session I gave at Summit last fall, which all these are actually. They're just the outline versions of or most. I think they all are. Maybe there's some new ones. I'm not sure, but mine certainly was.
Yep. And then Annette Liskey did the build a complex web form with robots and test box, which I saw at CF Summit was a great session. She presented on the February 29th with that one. And then March 4th, we had Lithra Kumra, the CF HTML to PDF out with the old and with the new. And again, lots more sessions there. So you can get that all online if you go to the link shared in the show notes. So a lot of cool stuff.
Actually, you mentioned Annette's session. She is going to be at Into the Box
Yes, that's
giving,
right.
giving that session. So if you missed it online, another reason to come into the box.
Yep, for sure. So, and if you
Super
missed
proud.
these, most of them do have the links posted, so you can watch them retroactively. So, if you want to go back and watch them, but seeing them live is even better, and it's a good speaker, and it was really cool to see someone outside of the Audis team talking about Rulebox and Testbox, and it's always good when the community steps up and shows off the cool things they're doing. So,
I have to check that out. I'm trying to see when that session is actually. Um, there it is. So day one, right out of the box, 10:15 a.m.
ooh, very cool. So we have CF Summit East, which we talked about as well. So basically on the 24th from 8 to 4 at the Carousel Conference and Collaboration Center in Reston, Virginia. CF Summit East is happening. And then I believe on the 23rd, they have that ACP training. So you can get just the free day for CF Summit East or pay, I think, $99 and you get your certification the day before CF Summit. And right after that, the next 2 days, Luis Mahano is going to be presenting a brand new built from the ground up workshop following CF Summit. And that's going to be Cold Fusion 7. So it's basically the Cold,
Box.
yeah, Coldbox, sorry, Coldbox, not Cold Fusion. But yeah, so basically it's a deep dive into Coldbox 7.2 and a 2-day workshop. It's going to be a lot of great stuff in there. So I highly recommend that one. And is the early bird
Okay.
pricing still good?
I don't know. But I will say with the White House now recommending Cold Fusion, now would be a great time to go to that session.
Yep, for sure. So it looks like the early bird discount is still applying. So you guys want to
Yeah, get
grab
early
that?
tickets. Let me click.
So okay.
I want to go to it. I can't. I've got um conflicts with the dates, but
Yep. It's I'm gonna share my screen though for those because you know what else happened this last couple of weeks ago? We got a new Into the Box website. So being
what?
updated. So we're 70 days away. Feels a lot longer than that, but also 70 days feels like a long time. But
Start working
so
on my presentation.
yep. So again, May 15th through the 17th, we have 1 day of workshops and then 2 days of the conference. A lot of cool stuff going on. So what does your ticket include? You get a welcome kit, some food and beverage. We get a Happy Box networking event, some raffle prizes, amazing modern developers and new product updates and releases. But the cool thing is a lot of great workshops here for you guys to choose from. So right now we have 3 listed here. So
Start working my workshop.
yep. So there's 3 workshops. So Grant's doing one on reactive front ends with CFML, CBWire, and Alpine JS. And Daniel and John are doing the bare metal to the cloud, migrating legacy applications to Amazon Web Services. And Luis is running the ColdBox 7 Unleashed workshop. So we're still working on a couple more that we might be releasing, but those 3 are available. And then we got a lot of great speakers. So as you mentioned in here, Annette is on the list, but there's also some new ones like Felicia. And let's see if we got some other ones here that I haven't seen.
Kurt, was he there last year, Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt was there last year.
I see Kurt at the other conference I go to. That's why I sometimes get
Yeah,
mixed up.
but Sammy Hoda, Senior Solutions Architect at AWS, is going to be there as well. And then Irvin Wilson speaking at Penn State University. We got a mystery speaker.
Jacob Beers, our newest Ortusian, one of our newest Ortusians. I think this is his first time presenting Into the Box,
Yep.
at least as part of Ortus.
Yep. And then we've got Vinay.
We got Scott, who's there all the time. No, we love Scott.
Yep.
But Scott will be there. Scott's in the chat.
Yep. And Nolan as well. And then we got Sean, and then a lot of Ortus people too. So, and I'm sure there'll be a few more popping up that, but yeah, let's say we've got some of the usuals. Giancarlo Gomez is going to be there, and George Murphy. So it's a good lineup. And again, lots of great sponsors too. So Computer Know How are sponsoring, TerraTech again are sponsoring. So we appreciate them. So
The only bad thing for me is I'm presenting opposite Sean's. I kind of want to see Sean's presentation. Schrodinger's backup. Is your backup really a backup?
yeah, no, Sean always has great sessions. I love his stuff. He's always has an interesting spin on things. So
It's pretty
very
fun.
cool. Yeah, so go check that out. And next up we have CF Camp. So in June, we're going to be doing CF Camp, and I'm going to share my screen again. You don't want to see us, you'd rather see my screen. The call for speakers, or call for papers, I guess, is still open. It closes March 17th. So don't forget, St. Patty's Day, make sure you got your session submitted.
Where you go celebrate.
Yep. CF Camp is a great conference, and they've got a lot of cool options. These are encouraged topics for submission. A lot of cool things. It's not just CFML. It's it can be business, marketing, infrastructure and adjacent technology, databases, front end. So a lot of interesting stuff you guys could be submitting. It's a great conference that's in Munich, Freising, Germany, June 13th and the 14th. So definitely check that out.
I'm gonna make it to that. I can't do it this year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year. I know my wife really wants to go. Well, she wants to go to Germany again, and so me going is a great excuse for her to tag along and do stuff while I'm do it.
For sure. And then more conferences. So there's a bunch more conferences out there. Obviously, we're only covering a few of them here, but if you go to conf.tech, you can find out more. Anyone in the chat going to any other conferences this year? Any JavaScript ones or other languages or infrastructure? Be cool to know as well. So let us know.
I just submitted some sessions for that conference again.
Yep, that conference.
I won't know for a month if I get selected or not. And if I don't get selected, we're still talking about going anyway. But
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun one. I mean, was it the bacon? The what do they
oh,
call
the
it?
pig roast.
The pig
Pig
roast.
roast on Wednesday night.
Yep, the pig roast sounds pretty good. A water park sounds pretty good. Yeah, kids sessions as well. So I'm tempted. I'm tempted to go to
We
that
would
one
love
as
to have you
well.
out there again. It would be
Yeah, it's
awesome.
just the week after we're already camping for a week at Water
I
Polo
know.
Junior Olympics. So it's always a tough one. We have to basically turn around and jump on a plane, but I'm tempted. So we'll see what else the summer has for us, and we'll see. But that wraps up our conferences. Again, tons of stuff happening. Check out those online CF Summit sessions, and get ready for the upcoming conferences. Let's jump into the blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. And we mentioned a couple of these already. So we've got Ryan O'Reilly's why your server may still be vulnerable, even if you've updated. So Daniel's trying to beat me to those. I'll let him post. We've also got one from Ben Adele. And so this one, if you guys like Alpine GS, Ben's been doing a lot more with that lately. He's been experimenting. And so let's share my screen and I'll talk a little bit about this one for you. So various ways to get Cold Fusion data into an Alpine JS component. So he's been exploring this, and Otis actually really likes Alpine JS too. As I mentioned with Grant's workshop, he's dealing with Alpine JS with CBY because they tie together great. But so Ben's looking into this, but I think we're using Alpine JS and Content Box admin now and a few other places. It's a really nice way just to add a little bit of capability on top of your standard HTML. So it fits in nicely with Cold Fusion without having to go full framework with Vue or React or anything like that. And yeah.
Interestingly enough, Ray Camden is doing a live coding session with Alpine JS today.
Oh,
In fact, he's doing
that's
it right now, so I don't want to like tell people to go away, but yeah,
yeah.
mate, check it out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty cool. Like for those who've used Angular or even just CFML stuff, it's just adding a little bit of data on top of it. Very jQuery like, sort of add a little bit of like a little bit of code and stuff, without doing too much. But it's pretty readable. It's again very much like Vue Lite is what I'd like to sort of mention it. Really simple, but yeah. So he's working around with basically using JSON.parse and passing data into it, and yeah, it's definitely the way to go. And a lot of people using this with HTMX too. So HTMX is getting a lot of support for the easy tie-in with with the Ajax sort of request behind the scenes. A lot of the almost reminds me of like the CF bind stuff. Remember from the old CF tags when they did the bind? And that's sort of what HTMX is. It's really just sort of binding stuff on that.
Everything old is new again.
Yep. And but yeah, so he goes through this here, and it's just kind of nice. I mean, it's real readable. I think it makes a lot of sense for Cold Fusion developers to like Vue, and Alpine setup is very similar. So recommend that if you want to sprinkle a little bit in, and you're sharing that link there as well with Ray Camden's session.
It did, so that way if you want to go back later when he's done.
Yep. If you look on CFCast, I got a presentation from a couple of years ago that I did for Into the Box on Alpine JS. I know Luis has done Alpine JS presentations as well at, I think, CF Summit and even CF Summit East. So some good stuff there. And we also had another blog post about the third wave of sessions at Into the Box. But we obviously talked about that a little bit. But this is a talking point. So James Moberg was on Twitter, and he said something about why does Cold Fusion use dedicated functions for case sensitivity? Why not use a single function with a case Boolean flag? And he hashtagged it dry. So I responded to him today, and I said, well, Uncle Bob might say that if you pass a Boolean flag into a function that makes the function do something else, you might want to use two functions instead, because it makes the code more readable. But I said, as a sort of a counterpoint to that too, is like, if you use a case insensitive function, how do you know it's not case sensitive when reading? And that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of the security vulnerability checks we do for people, you'll look at a function that says, list find. and you're like, when you read that code, you're like, oh, it's finding something in the list, but it doesn't tell you that it's case sensitive or not. So if you use list find no case, it's it's not case sensitive. But some people don't realize the list find is automatically case sensitive. And so, reading it looks readable, but doesn't mean you understand it. So,
Well, to his point, you could like cut down like a bunch of functions that way. But
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you could for sure. I mean, but then again, it's like, if you have a Boolean flag in your code to call different functions, it's basically you're just moving the functions around. And I like Uncle Bob's stuff and clean code and everything else. And it makes sense for the function to be, not have a bunch of Boolean flags in it. But James said Uncle Bob must be getting paid by the function. That might be funny because he likes to also have his functions be like 4 to 6 lines long max. So yeah, he'd have a lot of functions in his code. But yeah. So anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting because yeah, that's is one of those things where there are a million functions. Case contains no case, array delete no case. All of these are case sensitive functions. So
really, it's only a hassle if you're not naming your attributes as you pass them in. If you're just
yeah,
saying like
and that
value, then you don't know what that is. You didn't realize the third value is case sensitivity, and
yeah, and that's the big difference when you're working with Cold Fusion over something that doesn't have named parameters. A lot of times most things are basically number sensitive, and it just doesn't apply. Like a lot of the rules don't apply when you're dealing with them with Cold Fusion, because that some things like you can't have more than 3 arguments to a function. Otherwise, you should be using an object so it describes it better. It's like, yeah, I can describe it really good with Cold Fusion because it lets me use names. So I don't need to make an object. The argument, like basically the arguments is my argument object like you would create normally. And actually I can take out more memory for certain things. People were talking about that in JavaScript the other day. It's like, well, it uses more, more memory if you're creating objects on the fly versus just passing in arguments. But anyways, I thought it was interesting. So if you guys want to get in there and start a little chat battle, it'd be kind of fun.
yeah, I do like self-documenting code, so that is enough reason for me to say, James, nope, not today, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. It's like maybe it should be array contains case sensitive or no case, with no case. Should it be more defined?
Or you should abbreviate it and
Yeah.
C.
Yeah. But anyway.
I was kidding about that. Anyway, so going back to Brian O'Reilly, we did talk about that already. I'm just gonna.
Yep, we've talked about most of these, to be honest. So thinking defensively about those 3 recent Lucy vulnerabilities, and we talked about the ColdBox workshop basically being rewritten. Did a big overhaul of that training to make sure it's up to date, and we've listened to your feedback to make it better. So if you guys are giving us feedback for those who've taken the training, we want to make sure that we're turning into the superior you want to be. So we've taken that feedback and improved it, and so that's the training that Luis is giving at CF Summit East. And then we've also talked about the Redis extension. So this one, thought this was kind of funny. So Benadell talked about casting Java structs and arrays to Cold Fusion structs and arrays. So let me
let's pull that one up.
Pull that one up here. We can chat about that a little bit. Okay, so it's talking about how data flows seamlessly, usually between Cold Fusion and underlying Java layers. Behind the scenes, Cold Fusion is working to cast them or using proxy objects. But basically saying the magic's not always perfect. It never is, right? So yesterday he had an example where he's casting a Java array into a Cold Fusion array because he was working on the polyfilling the name brackets form field functionality. And I think that's another blog post we have here, because this is something that everyone in PHP loved, and Lucy does it. And so in the next blog post we'll talk about that. But basically he was talking about having a Java casted array and then using 2CF array with Java cast to go through it and see the difference. And you can see very different output when you look at the screen here. So a struct is a hash table versus a Cold Fusion struct, and the Cold Fusion array versus a native array. Now this does catch you sometimes, and actually I'll
Well, I've
mention
been
it
hurt by
in
that.
advance. When using things like CB streams, which we'll talk about later, um, I actually got it where basically it comes back as a hash map item inside of the struct, and so sometimes you need to get the values out of them. Every once in a while, when you are dealing with Java stuff, it doesn't automatically work, and you have to do that conversion yourself. So
Yeah, that drove me nuts the first time I ran into that. I'm like, what the heck?
yeah, so but yeah, so Ben's got a little function there to change it from a from a Java array into a CF array. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so have you ever used PHP, Daniel? I don't mean to embarrass you if you have, because I've used it before too, and I've seen this feature, and that's why I was
Well, I've
asking.
used WordPress. Does that count?
I guess it depends if you actually programmed it or not.
I've hacked it a little bit, but in
Yeah,
a good way to make it do stuff.
yeah. So one of the cool things that people would put is like if they had checkboxes where the name of the
I have,
tag was like tags,
yeah, I have seen that.
basically an array format, and then if you check multiple items, it comes through as an array on the other side. And so Lucy does this automatically now. If you actually um, basically put the square brackets in there, it'll do that. But Adobe doesn't. So this is how we basically go ahead and polyfills it. And so he's basically using the get page context to get requests, to get the parameter map, and then do some work on it. So if you guys like that feature, and if people seem to like it a lot in Lucy and PHP, this is a little function that does it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So it was kind of a cool thing it performs. You can sort of group items somewhat, so maybe you have like multiple addresses, or if you want to group the items, you do it that way. So
I feel like I've seen that before outside of PHP as well. Like
yeah,
where can
I'm not
I
sure
see it?
where, but I know that people do love it. So and we got two more blog posts that we've already covered. So we got the Command Box 6 release blog post, and then we've got the end of the box website blog post as well. So let's keep on speeding through here and go to find a job. So,
Yeah, so we've got a few different positions, several positions at getcflojobs.com. They've got 119 CF positions from 72 companies across 49 locations in 5 countries. And the two more recent ones, they're a couple weeks old, but they're looking for a full-time app developer in Confusion remote at Waterloo, Iowa. Wow,
mm,
Waterloo, Iowa. And then another full-time CF/Java developer remote in the US. And then, as always, there's the jobs channel in the CFML Slack team, the Box Slack team, and yeah, I'll go ahead and post these links there.
okay.
Showing off the site.
This one's got a lot of stuff in it, man. Some of these posts, sometimes I'm not sure if you can have all the combination of experience they require for some of these jobs.
Yeah, that used to bother me, but I think they're just casting a wide net.
Yeah.
And if you just hit most of it.
Yeah. It does say education can cross credit as well. So,
Yeah, it
yep.
drives me rather than for entry level people, but with master degrees and 10 years of experience. No.
Yep. Good times. Okay. Well, let's move on. So we've got the ForgeBox module of the week, and this week I thought we'd actually cover CB streams. So this is something that we've had presentations on it into the box before when it first came out, and I think it was a pretty cool project. So we wanted to share that. So what is CB streams? Well, CB streams is basically gives you the ability to do Java streams, but in the CFML world. And you might say, we can already do threads. Why do we need to do streams? Well, the cool thing about this is that whenever you work with Adobe and Lucy, sometimes when you get those threads, they don't have all the application and all the mappings and all the module mappings and all the bits and pieces you need. And I've noticed that we basically get random errors sometimes when the thread stuff we're doing just loses access to basically CodeBox stuff under the hood. Doesn't know about mappings anymore. It can't find injections. It just loses them. And so we had to use some CB streams just recently to sort of make our parallel processes work a little better. But the cool thing about it is that it's not just, I've got an array, I want to parallelize the way I loop through them or whatever. It can actually work where you're actually passing a list of items to it, and you can work on the stream that never ends. And that's the cool thing about streams is theoretically you can take it where it's just, you're looping through, a log file, and as something comes in, you can just keep reading that log file as it keeps writing it out. But the cool thing is that, yeah, it allows you to do things, wrapping, so you can do maps, reduce, filters, but it just keeps going, and it parallelizes them as you go, and it's really slick. And if you look at the format here, so those who are watching, it's readable. You got a stream, which is you put the array into the stream, and then you map over it, and then you filter over it, and then you do a for each, and it just basically runs simultaneously. And so you can see here that it's outputting different things in different orders. So basically it doesn't wait for all the things in the map to finish before it does the filter. Each one goes through this process, this flow, one by one. So it's sort of one of those things where if you are waiting for a big item like a log file or whatever, you don't have to wait for all the lines to be mapped before you can do all the filtering, before you can do the for each. So big things. And again, it's all tied into Java. So underneath it's got the rock solid Java implementations, and there's a whole bunch of information here. And if you've ever seen or not seen Dr. Venkat, and I won't pronounce his name right, so I won't try, but he's got a lot of great sessions. He's really a cool person to listen to in the Java world. He's got a lot of really influential videos, and I know Luis likes to follow him, and so a lot of information about streams. But it makes it easy to do parallel. Can't speak, but yeah, it's parallel functions, and it's really neat. And so if you guys want to look through there, highly recommend this. It's just so much nicer to work with. So, but I did run into a thing where I had a struct and I had to get the value out of the struct item. That's one thing I ran into this last week when we switched it, because it had the way the structs was built, had the struct item, so I had to get the value out of it. But it's very cool. So CB streams, really neat. A lot of power. So that is our ForgeBox modular week. I can't believe we've had it out for so long too, and we hadn't mentioned it on the podcast.
Or that's the first time, really.
Yep, and we released it in 22, so September 2022. Very cool. Okay, well, next up, we have our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, and this one I'll let you talk about.
I'm going to get on here.
It's pretty straightforward.
It's the SVG previewer. Basically, if you want to see a preview of the SVG that you're working with, you can click on it. It'll render it in the sidebar of your VS Code, or you'll click and render it within VS Code if you click on it within the sidebar. So, of course, SVG stands for what, Gavin?
Scalable vector graphic, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Phew. Put me on the spot there.
You're on the spot.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool little tool, and to be honest, I really wish they'd do this for like base 64 images and stuff, and it would do the, and we were talking the other day, and we had to go look one up online, a little online viewer, but it'd be cool if you could just select a bunch of text and just view it in a tab like that.
Yeah, I wonder if there is a base 64 one already.
That's what I was thinking. It might be next week's, or but yeah, I like the fact that you can, make the image bigger or smaller or whatnot. Yeah, and you can just, lots of little options in here. So it's a cool little VS Code extension. And again, they don't have to do a whole lot. Sometimes they just be a simple little thing. But yeah, another thing I do is like my JSON format, or I have some stuff that strips out quotes and whatever. I'm like, I should build a little extension that just does these little tasks that I randomly do all the time.
Not the Gavin extension.
Yep. But I think that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, there we go. So just a little SVG previewer, but yeah.
Handy.
Exactly. So let's do VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. Next up, we have our Patreon supporters.
We are getting to the end of the show.
Yep.
And hey, you thought we wouldn't have enough time, or you thought we wouldn't talk enough.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, again, thank you, patrons, supporters. So these individuals are personally supporting our open source initiatives, or it could be their company, but they're making sure that we're able to do all the things we want to do for the community, building tools like CommandBox and ForgeBox, CodeBox, ContentBox, TestBox, and basically not just that, but the infrastructure in the cloud that basically ForgeBox and our package management CommandBox is built on top of and runs. And so you
And
can
we do
support
have,
us. Sorry.
well, so we have annual memberships. In fact, if you pay for the year, you save 10%, which is great for everybody. I already pasted that. You're too slow, Gavin.
It's okay. I'm gonna show my screen.
Okay. But yeah, we do have with bronze packages and up, you now get a ForgeBox Pro and a CFML subscription as a perk. All Patreon supporters have a profile badge on the community website, the Ortis community website. All Patreon supporters have their own private forum access on the community website. And there's also a private channel on Slack, on the Box Team Slack for the Patreon supporters.
Yep, and if you're a silver sponsor, you get 10% off on services, training, and commercial products. And if you're a gold supporter, you get 1 free ticket into the Box conference, as well as the 10% off and everything else. So
depending on how much you use us, you could be actually, coming out ahead.
yeah, it depends. So there's all these different platinum options as well, all the way out to some crazy version where you basically should just, invest in the company. But there's a lot of cool stuff there. Again, we got a lot of great Patreon supporters, and we thank each and every one of them. We can't read them all, though, because there's too many names now. So we just read some of the top phenomenal Patreons. So I'll start with a couple at the top here, and I'll let you finish out the rest. But I want to thank John Wilson from Synaptrix, Tomorrow's Guides, and Jordan Clark. They're our top Patreons, but we've also got some great Patreons as well.
Sure, we got Gary Knight, Giancarlo Gomez, who you can catch at Into the Box, David Bellinger, who you can catch at Into the Box, Dan Card, James Moberg, and Jeffrey McGee at Sunstar Media, Dean Maunder, Kevin Wright, Doug Kane, Nolan Irk, who you can catch it Into the Box, and Abdul Raheen. I'm sure others might be going too. There's the ones I know for sure.
Yeah, they're speaking, so they better be going there, right?
Yeah,
actually, well, David said he's bought a ticket already, so yeah. But yep. So a lot of great Patreons and many more on our website as well. So, but thanks everyone for joining us. A lot of great news going out there. Again, be careful with security. But yeah, keep your stuff updated. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everybody at the upcoming conferences. And
absolutely, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing David. Haven't seen him in
since the last one.
Since the last one.
Yep. For sure. It's a good group. It's going to be good fun again. And again, get to hang out in DC while we do it. So looking forward to that. So everyone have a great week, and we'll catch up with you on the next one.
Yep, thanks, everybody.
Bye. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.